Episode 7, The Weight of Crowns. Thor found Storm on Asgard's observation deck, a platform that extended from the palace into open air, offering views of the realm that made Earth's most impressive vistas look provincial. She stood at the railing, her white hair streaming in winds that were half natural atmospheric circulation and half her mutation responding to emotional turbulence. "I find myself here often," Thor said, joining her at the railing while maintaining respectful distance. "When the weight of expectation becomes too heavy, when I need to remember why protecting the 9 realms matters despite the cost." "It's beautiful," Storm admitted, watching distant lightning play across Asgard's impossible sky. "And terrible, like looking at something too vast to fully comprehend." "That's rulership," Thor replied. "Beautiful and terrible. Too vast to fully comprehend, but demanded anyway. My father carried that weight for 5,000 years. Now it passes to me. Or would, if you hadn't arrived and demonstrated that my storm mastery might not be as supreme as Asgard believed." Storm turned to face him, and the movement was sharp enough to make her white cape snap in winds that definitely weren't natural. "You resent me." "I resent the timing," Thor corrected. "I don't resent you. You didn't choose this challenge any more than I did. But yes, part of me wishes you'd never arrived, that the coronation had proceeded without cosmic intervention, that I could have claimed the throne and proven myself worthy through rule rather than through combat that tests aspects of storm mastery I've never had to develop because overwhelming force was always sufficient." "What aspect?" Storm asked. Thor was silent for a moment, choosing words carefully. "Precision, creativity, understanding weather as something other than a weapon. You manipulate individual atmospheric elements the way a surgeon uses a scalpel, exact, controlled, purposeful. I summon storms the way a berserker wields an axe. Overwhelming, destructive, effective, but crude. The trials we'll face won't just test who's stronger. They'll test who truly understands what it means to command weather as fundamental force, rather than just as power to be deployed against enemies." "You're afraid you'll fail those tests," Storm observed. "I'm afraid I'll prove myself unworthy in ways that can't be dismissed as divine magic being arbitrary," Thor admitted. "If I lose because you're simply more powerful, that's acceptable. The stronger storm wielder should rule. But if I lose because I've never learned control, because I've never had to think creatively about weather beyond hit it with lightning until it stops, then what does that say about my readiness to rule Asgard?" "It says," Storm replied, "that you're honest enough to recognize your limitations. That's more than most rulers manage." "But is it enough?" Thor asked. "You've spent decades using your powers to help people. I've spent a millennium using mine to fight wars. We both command storms, but we come to that command from entirely different philosophies. Mine is martial, yours is, what would you call it?" "Nurturing," Storm said after consideration. "My earliest memory of using my powers consciously was making it rain for farmers whose crops were dying in drought. I was maybe 8 years old, barely understanding what I could do. Then I saw people suffering and made the sky open up. The look on their faces when rain fell, joy, relief, gratitude, that's when I understood my mutation wasn't just about power. It was about service, about using what I could do to help those who needed help." "And that service led them to worship you," Thor said. "That service led them to need me," Storm corrected. "The worship followed. and I accepted it because refusing would have hurt them, not because I believed I was actually a goddess. There's a difference between being called divine and claiming divinity. Is there? Thor asked. You command weather with authority that rivals mine. You've been worshipped by people who saw your actions as divine intervention. You've saved countless lives using powers that operate beyond normal human capability. By any meaningful definition, you are a goddess. The only question is whether you're willing to accept what that means. What does it mean? Storm asked. It means responsibility, Thor replied. Divine authority isn't just power, it's obligation. When people call you goddess, they're not just honoring you. They're placing their hope, their trust, their survival in your hands. They're saying, we believe you will protect us because that's what gods do. And if you accept that title, if you claim divinity rather than just allowing others to assign it, then you're accepting the obligation to be what they need you to be. Always. Without failure, without the luxury of being merely human. I am merely human, Storm insisted. Mutant, yes, powerful, yes, but human, with doubts and fears and limitations. So am I, Thor said quietly. I was born Asgardian, but that doesn't mean I'm not mortal in all the ways that matter. I bleed. I doubt. I fear failure. The only difference between us is that I was taught to hide those vulnerabilities behind divine authority, to present myself as infallible because that's what gods do. You've never hidden, never pretended to be more than you are, and maybe, he paused, staring at Asgard's impossible skyline, maybe that makes you more worthy of the throne than someone who inherited it without question. They stood in silence, two storm wielders watching lightning dance across an alien sky, both carrying the weight of divinity they'd received through entirely different means and understood in fundamentally different ways. The trials begin tomorrow, Thor finally said. Whatever happens, whatever the Tempest duel reveals about our relative worthiness, I want you to know. I don't see you as an enemy. I see you as a challenge I needed. A reminder that power without wisdom is just violence with divine branding. And I don't see you as a tyrant, Storm replied. I see you as someone who's trying to be worthy of authority he never asked for, but can't refuse. That's more than most rulers manage. Tomorrow they would compete. One would prove superior, and Asgard would learn whether divine authority was something inherited or something earned. But tonight they stood together, two gods who didn't quite believe in their own divinity and understood each other better than either had expected.